And we're back. Hi, everybody. It's
Yo.
FLF. Tonight we are joined by special guest Ty from the Tie That Binds. Ty, tell us about yourself.
Hi guys, it's really good to be here. I'm Ty from the Tie That Binds podcast. Long time listener for as long as you guys been on the air. I've been listening. So
Wow.
Wow.
yeah, so I'm happy to be here. I told Rich before you guys logged on. Yeah, I'm a fan. You guys are doing good stuff.
Thank
And
you.
and I'm just interested to hang out for the night. That's why I'm here. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm here to hang out. And I got some forewarning. We're going to talk about some interesting things, and that's what I'm here for. A good hang, and hopefully we'll have some laughs, and that's what it's all about.
Oh, absolutely.
I appreciate that.
Well,
All
so
right.
tonight we are talking about the Land Between the Lakes monster. But before we get into that, we were talking about this pre-show about the differences between North Carolina and South Carolina, more than just geographical, because you are one of our friends from the north. So we certainly appreciate you being on the show tonight, but just kind of a general rundown. So South Carolina, they're the ones who started the Civil War. And like that's kind of the big splitting
Very
of hairs
true.
right there, right?
So
Right.
is that fact? Sorry,
That's
my
yeah, no,
ignorance.
they were the first state to sedate because they wanted to keep slaves. And
And it wasn't even the first time they tried to leave the Union. They did it like 2 or 3 times over ridiculous things a lot of times.
yeah, they've got terrible barbecue. They've got strange accents. So North Carolina, we have two barbecues. It's pulled pork barbecue. The Eastern North Carolina barbecue, which is the best barbecue, is vinegar based.
Oh yeah.
And then as you go west, you run into somewhere along the line, somebody got hit in the head and they decided to put mustard on that shit. It's just, we don't need that. It's
Look,
disgusting.
I
I
would
don't know
rather
why they do
have
that.
barbecue from New Jersey than South Carolina.
100%. It's terrible.
Absolutely.
And then
So-
their
so before you-
university. Go
before
ahead.
Before you go any further, Rich, I don't want to change the subject, but I'm actually a barbecue enthusiast myself.
Nice.
I've got an entire fleet of barbecues in my backyard, whether it's a smoker, a pellet smoker, a charcoal, numerous gas grills. I didn't know there was a difference between North and South Carolina barbecue. Like I knew there was Carolina barbecue, but I didn't know it was divided North and South.
Well, North Carolina barbecue is divided east and west. And then South Carolina are, I don't know, ugly cousin likes to chime in and say they did something, but they didn't actually do anything. So it's there. I'll send you a recipe. I'll send you some things you can check out because the so it's vinegar based. It's vinegar. It's a usually you have a vinegar, some a crushed red pepper, some spicy stuff mixed in with it. It's pretty good, pepper based. And then on top of that, there is the University of South Carolina, and the state for some reason claims that they're the first college in America, which is
Huh.
empirically false. It's laughable because you how can you not know that you're not?
Yeah.
I don't know. We can go on.
University of North Carolina was the first one, and then we beat them by 100 years, and they're like, no, we were the first. In their school, I think they're called the Gamecocks.
The Gamecocks.
Also, another thing is going back to the food. For some reason, they love pimento cheese. For some reason, they just love it, and I don't understand that one. I can't get jiggy with it myself.
What exactly is pimento cheese? I mean,
buddy, if you have to ask,
right?
can't afford
What
it
is a
anyway.
pimento?
I have no idea, dude.
There's not
I've
a
had it
single
before.
soul in the world that knows what pimento is. That's why
I've
nobody
had it
knows.
before. That for me was I got it at Biscuitville, which is it's a southern chain where you can buy it's basically biscuits, right? It was I want to say chicken and pimento cheese thing.
Yeah.
That was a waste of however much I paid for it. I was like, this is a bad idea. They shouldn't have mixed those two things together, but they did. I fell for it, and that's on me. All right.
I know, if you remember back home, they had that giant chili festival, and there was one tent they would serve their chili, a cinnamon roll, and a pimento cheese slice, and I would eat the chili, then the cinnamon roll, and the pimento cheese sandwich went in the trash. It was like a routine.
Dude, I forgot all about the Chili Festival in Havelock, man. I know that I think I want to say it was one of the we went there one year. Maybe I'm thinking about a different one, but I'm pretty sure at least you were there, Dan. I know Sherman and I were there. We were on the quarter machine where it's like you put the quarters in and it like pushes quarters forward. And we were,
Yeah.
absolutely raking it in. And then the carney came over and told us we were shaking the box and made us leave before he called the cops. That was bullshit,
Yeah.
man. But I remember I could barely keep my pants up because I had like $14 worth of quarters in my pocket.
You guys are cheating. You're stealing all my meth money. Stop it.
That's what it was.
That's exactly what it is.
Nothing like some
Now,
good old fashioned.
One other thing about South Carolina is they have Bill Murray, but they claim that he lives there, but I really think they're holding him captive.
There's no way. There's no way they're not.
Right.
Well,
Bill
what
Murray
what are some notable North Carolinians?
Us.
notable North Carolinians?
Michael.
Yes, there's definitely us. Well, there's
Well,
the
sorry,
Wright
how
brothers.
do you say it? How do you say it?
North Carolinians.
North
Carolinian.
Carolinians. Depending on where you're at in the state, the accent sounds a little bit different. I'm not even from North Carolina. I just know South Carolina's better. Or I'm sorry, South Carolina's worse.
Yeah.
So we have we're the first in flight. The Wright brothers came down from
That's
Ohio,
right.
rightfully so, another one of our awful states, and they flew the first plane in North Carolina.
Yeah. Pepsi
Michael
Cola was
Jordan.
invented.
Greatest basketball player of all time, North Carolinian.
He's an
Yeah.
asshole, though.
Yeah, but you
And-
know what? 90s Jordan was fucking awesome.
Yeah, definitely. Got to give it up to the GOAT.
Yeah, you just can't do it.
If you like the books, The Notebook and A Walk to Remember or any of those, the author, he's from here. Actually our town we're from, and I've heard he's a giant asshole and he doesn't tip well from all the wait
Extremely
staff.
big asshole. Huge
Yeah.
asshole. His name's Nicholas Sparks.
There's any
Yeah,
Nicholas
he wrote The
Sparks
Notebook.
fans? Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see.
He's not nice.
We also
in person.
have
So there's
Zach
assholes.
Galifianakis.
So there's assholes in North Carolina as well, though, right?
Oh, yeah.
100%. We're just better at being assholes.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's the general rundown. North Carolina, South Carolina. Now I will
thanks for
say
clearing-
that
Thanks for clearing up that mess.
Oh,
this
no problem.
the Land Between the Lakes monster has really, I was really behind Kentucky after our Goblins episode. That's completely changed after doing research into this one. Not fun.
You know what, though? We get to include another great American president.
We do.
Really?
So there's some fun stuff in this story. But
The old
I-
Moose
be-
riding Theodore Roosevelt.
Nice.
So before we get started, I do want to address something. So when I was reading about the story, I was listening to some different podcasts, some different YouTube videos, and there's a few different articles and blogs that I came across. And there's just loads of blatant and egregious bullshit out there.
Yes.
There was one in particular that was so bad. Like I wish I could force them to watch just like hours of the Barney intro song, Clockwork Orange style.
Oh,
Now,
you want to torture them musically.
yes, as much as I possibly can legally, whatever the enhanced interrogation tactics are that we use. I want that Geneva Convention version of it, right? But
Right.
one in particular was I'm not going to give that person or their name any type of platform, but in their article they talked about 3 people who actually died tragically, and they attributed their deaths to the LBL monster. A simple Google search showed one of them was a service member. They were killed by a drunk driver. And the other person was murdered by one of their clients. I guess their line of work is more dangerous than most, without saying anything degrading there. Those people, they deserved better than to have their names associated with the creature in just some asshole's blog. That's
Right.
And that wasn't the only case I found with just like straight up outright lies about this. There was another one I found that alluded to an incident in the Ashland Cemetery where 2 cops were allegedly cornered by the beast, but there's absolutely nothing to support that claim. When I was
Right.
looking through, like, just to find some of the back, just something to back it up, because I thought it was a really cool story. I didn't find anything, and this supposedly happened in the 80s, which, as you know, there were things called newspapers in the 80s. So you could find stories like that, right? And now what I did find, and maybe we'll look into this in the future, is the cemetery it happened was the Ashland Cemetery. There's
Ashland. Is it Ashland City?
I would assume so. At least
Yeah.
Ashland, incorporated. I didn't get too far into
gotcha.
that, but I do know that there's a ton of ghost stories out there.
Yeah.
And out of
Yeah.
the several that I read, I mean, there were some pretty wild ones, and there's actually a couple books written about like ghost stories of Kentucky, things like that. It's pretty cool. But with that said, there's some interesting elements to the story. This is a dogman / werewolf story. It dates back hundreds of years, and I think it's important that we talk about the origins of the myth first. When doing some of the research for this, I know, John, you sent me a link to bedtime stories. And in that
absolutely.
video, he mentions the story started to circulate among French trappers in the area. Now, the French part, which you being from Canada, Ty, maybe you can kind of chime in on this. Maybe there's some overlaps, maybe there's not. I know there's the French element up there. But the French part really sticks out to me because there's a long history of werewolves in France. Most recently, there was the 1999 or 1997 American Werewolf in Paris incident that really shook a lot of movie critics to their core.
Yeah.
But there's also the Beast of Gwendavira. I can't pronounce that. It's one of those fancy French towns. In that
Vindavira.
situation, there you go. Some science in there, Dan. Good job. That's in that incident, there was a monster that plagued the French countryside, and that was between 1764 and 1767. Now, this incident, which we should probably do a pretty detailed story on this. I know, John, you mentioned a movie about this topic as well, but that incident left hundreds of people dead. And then, according to History.com, local villagers became convinced that it was a supernatural entity, and it was supposedly a shapeshifter beast to human type situation going on. Some of the eyewitnesses described a canine covered in red and black fur, and before too long, newspapers across Europe and France were just covered in werewolf issues. It was the hot topic of the day. And this is also on the heels of the one of the religious wars that was out there. I don't remember which one. 100-Year War, 7 Years War. I don't know. But before that, there's also that werewolf topic. The beast right there was so popular that King Louis actually sent monster hunters, which apparently was a job back in the 1700s, out into the woods to go find the monster. They didn't actually find anything because this is a werewolf. I'm guessing it probably said, "Oh shit, there's monster hunters. Let me just switch real quick." And
They should have. They at least got to go out there with a tennis ball or something.
Yeah, right. We'll have to fact check that. Were tennis balls invented back in the day?
You're talking about the French Connection. If I'm not mistaken, is the Beauty and the Beast not set in France? Is that is he not the definition of like a werewolf? You know what I mean? Like, there's no wonder that there's a relation to the French. You know, whether it's, you know, in the French Quarter or the States, whether it's in Canada or in France. I mean, that seems likely to me.
Now, was that set in France, or was it just a French butler?
That's an excellent question.
I
feel like it's in France, but now that you put me on the spot, I actually don't know.
I'm a little disappointed, man. You seem like you came in so hot with that Beauty and the Beast take. I thought you knew something, man.
Hold on.
Well, hold on. He's onto it. He is onto something though with LBL, that area I was talking about last week, how that was Transylvania Company that owned that. The majority of the people before the British started coming in there were French fur trappers, and then of course the Native Americans. So there is going to be a lot of French connections to LBL. And
That's
If you
a
look
fun-
on Google, here's a quick Google search. With names like Belle, Gaston, and Lumiere, it's no secret that the Beauty and the Beast likely takes place in France. You Google it.
That's-
That's what it came up real
well,
fast.
well, information goes God, Google to you, so I'm not going to question that. I just assume it's right. Now, I did just to kind of get off the weeds right here. I saw a funny picture earlier of it was one of those please explain the jokes to me situations where it was the Little Mermaid and the Little Mermaid and Eric, I believe. They're like, hey, you can't talk. That's perfect. Here, can you write your name down? And it shows Ariel having a flashback to where she's signing her name to the contract. I thought that was pretty funny. I got a good laugh out of that. But I wonder, like in the settings in which, like the time in which that happened, how shocking would it have been that the woman knew how to sign her name? You know, that'd probably be an interesting, like a realistic view of the Little Mermaid. But anyways, that's the weird Disney fact for you there. Now, I did see the
Gotcha.
Cryptid Wiki website, and they actually had a pretty good write up on the monster's origin story, and I'm going to quote from that right now. So one of the legends speaks of a man who left Europe in the 1800s to settle between the rivers. This man supposedly had a disease that turned him mad after nightfall. It's a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde situation there.
They call that
disease-
sundowning.
Sundowning.
yeah.
It means something very different in the South. So
Right. It's just a form of dementia that I guess, it's like anything else. Like after the sun goes down, I guess it's just one of those things that's whenever it aggravates it or it just takes triggers it. That's the word I'm looking for.
It's like the worst case of seasonal depression ever. As soon as it's dark, you just go mad. That's terrible. But yeah, so the legend has it that it passed down to his children over the years. They remained secluded because of this. So like they would never go to school or had the desire to socialize with others until one day they went silent. Many believed that the family had died. An investigation in the early 1900s revealed that their homestead was vacant and abandoned. So there's that version of it. And then there are the accounts of a creature from the early American expansion into Kentucky, tell of hunters disappearing in the woods and of strange, unnatural howls that echoed through the forest night. At this time, bison still roamed wild in Kentucky, and hunters would sometimes encounter mutilated carcasses of these massive animals lying half-eaten in the deep grass with their throats ripped out by massive claws.
Yeah.
Now, John, you found several fun encounters, more recent encounters, and some, maybe a little bit further back. Do you want to start off with the family camping trip?
See, that's the one that so I also found out that years after that the boy, that the only survivor of that situation, when he grew up to be a man, he did not realize that there were people online that were quoting the story, and he reached out to a Reddit community and told his story. And basically what he said is he had a family. They lived in a camper, and from time to time they were kind of like a traveling family. They didn't really have a set place that they stayed, but they would visit his area during the summertime, and he grew fond of their son. And they had a little girl. She was about 9 years old at the time. But needless to say, he was 15, the little boy was 13, so they become friends. It was like summer friends. You remember what it was like to have summer friends,
Yep.
And so one summer, the family asked if he would like to go along, if he would like to join them. They were going to go to the Land Between the Lakes in Kentucky and do about a week's camping trip. That's the part that gets me, though. It's like, whose parents just let, their 15-year-old boy ride into Kentucky with a bunch of strangers on a week-long camping trip? I guess that's the only kind of thing that the 80s could bring,
Well, that's
I
the
mean,
80s.
I was gonna say, Dan, that's the 80s. That's what people did. Latchkey kids,
Yeah.
right? Fucking
Either
see,
you made it home
fucking see you
every night.
later. See you later, Sally. Fucking
Yeah.
You made it
come
home every night, or
Friday.
you ended up on Unsolved Mysteries. That's what the 80s was.
Well, that's exactly what it
They
was.
they had to fuel the plots. I mean, otherwise, what was Robert Stack going to do? He's a American treasure. We had to get those kids out there.
Had to. That's kind of an interesting generational thing right there, right? So like those people were raised by people who like grew up in big families because kids just kept dying. So like they were used to just like, oh well, you made it, go work. You know what I mean? Congratulations, you're 7. So those people
Time to go to
became
the
parents.
sawmill, kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something you mentioned, Richard. Little side note, real quick. I was talking to my dad about my daughters. They're reaching the point where they're going to get their first jobs, and my dad was just like, "Well, they could work." He sounds like Kermit the Frog. They could work at the farm. That's a good starter job. And I was like, Dad, the last thing I want to think about is my daughter's getting sucked into a cultivator. Like, you're so out of touch. You don't know how farms work anymore.
I do know a couple of tobacco farms down there. If they're really looking to get into the work, I can hook them up.
But your idea of working is like a grocery store or a convenience store or something easy.
Yeah, it's very true.
Yeah, well, I mean, hopefully somewhere where there's
currently work at a
less
grocery
industrial
store.
accidents. It's the ideal world for a 15-year-old girl, I would say.
I don't know. Do you really want a 15-year-old girl working on a tobacco farm?
No. She
Okay. Now, 1982 girl or like commonplace today girl, because
Commonplace today. Commonplace
No.
today, girl. You don't want her working on a tobacco farm.
absolutely not.
he's
The less
yeah.
videos of a tobacco farm that we can have, the better. And you just don't get that with teenagers right now.
Well,
Right.
that
Yeah, I'm
actually
just-
that actually happened. There was a kid that in North Carolina, first day on the job, he was 17 years old. They had to sign a waiver for him to work. The first thing his supervisor told him was like, load these logs into the wood chipper. I've got to go to the store real quick. And he left. When he came back, apparently the machine got stuck, the logs got stuck. So he decided to start kicking the machine, and he got sucked through it and was killed very first day, very first time ever working.
Thank God he signed that waiver, right?
You have to throw away your best boss ever cup, right?
Yeah.
You come back to work and it's just a bloody mess. You just take your mug and just, let it go.
If that shit happens under your watch, you probably never had the best boss ever cup to begin with.
Yeah, good point.
I
give them out to anybody.
can't
believe it or
picture
not.
that
You can just buy one.
conversation. The parents pull up and he takes his hat off and you're like, well, that's the damnedest thing that just happened. You know what I mean, man?
Well, his
not-
check will be in the mail.
You know what I mean, Bird?
You're not going to believe this one. So anyway, Dogman. Sorry.
To continue on the story,
I just had to
they
brighten our day a little
arrive-
bit.
They arrive at a campground in Kentucky, and the boy noted when retelling his story that he saw no other families were really in the park. And this is just a gorgeous April spring weather. He said that it was non-rainy, nice week, good weather. good area, good buddies, good brews, the whole 9 yards. But they thought it was a little strange. There were no other families camping out there that weekend. Needless to say, they get there. The family, they start getting settled in. They start splitting off into teams. The girls, the mother and the daughter, she was 9 years old. They split off into a team. They were going to go and do whatever it is that they do on camping trips, because I wouldn't necessarily know, because the guys went outside to throw around the Frisbee and shoot the 410 shotgun. You know what I mean?
Mm.
This is America in Kentucky.
Goddamn right.
Goddamn right.
I don't know. So camping in the 80s, I can only assume it's not as magical as the wet, hot American summer, but there had to have been some
tell you
lewd
what,
comments.
It involves at least 3 different kinds of pigskin.
You're gonna have to explain that one.
We got pork rinds, we got hot dogs, and we got tossing the old football around.
Outstanding, the best 3.
Absolutely. I mean, sometimes they just throw the whole pig on the cooker, to be honest.
That's the best
Football and
way.
everything.
Well, that's the best way, yeah. That's how Tom Brady won his 3rd Super Bowl ring, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Grillgate.
Grillgate.
So they're out in this majestic forest and they're doing totally not creepy things.
He
Then what happened?
said in his retelling of the story, he said that from the time that they arrived to the time of the massacre was such a short, it was just a few moments.
Really?
What he had said is that the father and son went out, throw the Frisbee, throw the football around, just kind of play around. And they left him with the shotgun. They were like, hey, you want to do some target practicing? He was 15. He was the oldest of the kids. So he was like, of course I want to do some target practicing. And a short while later, fast forward a few seconds, he said that his target practice was cut short by the fact that he noticed that one of the youngest boy had started screaming, right? Blood curdling scream, followed by an unnatural sound. He said it wasn't like a howl. It wasn't like a growling. It was just a sound that he will remember for the rest of his life as just not human.
Okay.
He goes out to see what the commotion is. He runs from the back of where the camping area was to the front where the father and the son were out. And he knew immediately upon gazing over there that his friend, the boy, was dead. And his father was trying to wrench a 6-foot-tall, dark-haired wolf creature from his boy, his lifeless boy. I guess that's the best way.
So was he trying to eat? Was he trying to eat the son still?
He said that none of the family members that were there that day, particularly were eaten or even torn to pieces. It was just, it was breaking their necks and biting them, and it just sounded like a dick.
Kill.
You know what I mean? Like
it's just
Sport
being an
kill.
asshole.
Yeah.
That's,
Right.
That's tough.
if you run into a giant wolf, it's gonna be an asshole.
They tend to be like
not
that.
not a lot of positive werewolf stories out there.
Right.
No.
Moving forward, he said that at that moment in time, the father wrenched the shotgun from his hands and shot both the creature and his son at the same time.
Oh, dang.
It's a good call
But
though.
the boys, the survivor,
Fucking good call.
Hey,
Right.
dude, look. If I'm on the ground,
If one's
and
gonna
a-
die, they both gotta die.
well, if a werewolf has clearly bitten my throat out and I'm alive, dude, let me get one of them bullets.
exactly.
Mercy kill.
That's I thought about this before. No, take me down. Don't
But
let just end the 5 minutes early. You know what I mean? We can leave.
Oh.
We can leave early. It's fine.
well, the kid's not
Bad
going to think
movie.
like that. The kid's going to be sitting there like, Dad, can you put my neck back together? You know, like he's not going to be thinking about mercy kills.
Oh man, that's tough.
At that moment in time, though, the wolf, see, it caught the boy across the chest and in the shoulder, and it also spread across the shoulder of the wolf. And the wolf wasn't happy about that, you know. So he was gonna ratchet up from, you know, asshole to just malevolent at that point in time. And he turned towards the father and charged at him. And bullets just weren't going to stop him at that point in time. I believe the father may have cracked off another shot before the wolf got a hold of him and also took the father down.
Okay.
At that point in time, the boy, the 15-year-old boy, said that he was going to pray that the women were going to be all right, the little girl and the mother, but he ran and hid underneath the camper and pulled himself up into the frame and held himself there as long as he could possibly hold his own body weight and pray that the wolf did not find him underneath of the camper.
I get that. I
At that
understand
time, he said that he knew from the sound of the breaking glass and the screams and then muffled whimpers slightly after of the two women that the wolf had made it inside the camper where they were at.
Ooh.
As he's holding himself up and listening to the commotion that's going on inside the house, he said that another creature had approached.
What?
And it had started to make its way inside of the camper as well.
Do we
The
know
boy
if this is like
decided that at that point in time, he was going to have to just make a break for it. He was going to have to just, if he was going to survive, he was going to have to get out of there.
Hold on, like backtrack a little bit. So like we got competing monsters here, like a Freddy versus Jason.
I was going to say, is this Godzilla King Kong situation, or is this, do we have two mammals? Like,
oh no,
is this a lizard man thing going on? What
it's
what
the
do we have going on
Avengers of the wolf world.
here? The Dark
That's what it
Avengers.
is. Yeah,
So it's a secondary wolf.
it is a second wolf creature.
Okay. Man, what shit luck camping.
As the second one moves into the camper, he decides his only chance of survival is to make a break for it. And that's what he did. He took off running full speed as far as he could run, all the way through the park, out the park, down the road, and stopped the first car that he saw. And he said that the first words out of his mouth was that they're all dead. You know, like he knew it. There was just no anything that takes a shot from a shotgun and pursues right through the bullet to your attacker. I mean, you know, that's like the Liam Neeson of monsters, if you ask me. You know.
Who knows what he's mad about? But he's
I'm pretty. I mean, he's already throat chopped a few of them. You know,
yeah, dude,
like,
well, you know,
I have a
certainly
certain
not
set.
sending that kid out to the farm anymore. You know, his arms.
I have
been
a
off.
certain set of skills used as wolf man to take down your family if you cross me. The Taken. Anybody Taken reference?
No,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
no. So,
Not me,
Daniel, we were
sorry.
talking about Liam Neeson. If it's not a Taken reference, I don't want it.
Right.
the first one. You know, it seems
Yeah, I
like
didn't-
he
I didn't
got
watch the other
taken the
ones.
first one, and then Liam Neeson movies just start going.
I don't know if I can even name a second Liam Neeson movie.
Taken 2. Boom.
Nice.
Yeah.
No, he's made a couple of cameos. He got that niche, and then they just started writing checks for him, and he just keeps cashing them. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a Taken like whatever sixth septilogy is, whatever that is. I don't
Yeah.
know.
He was
Taken
in that
7.
He was in that
Wasn't he-
Fat Batman prequel too.
Wasn't he
Batman
in
Begins.
Wasn't he in the scary movies near the end?
Oh, I don't know. Like
Well,
the latter scary movies.
Maybe Scary Movie 3? Was he
I
not?
wouldn't be surprised. I haven't seen those movies in a very long time. I
Scary
remember
Movie 2, Scary
distinctly.
Movie 3?
Man.
I'm sure he's at the very end.
Well, Scary Movie
Gotcha.
2 for sure. Take My Strong Hand.
Take my strong
But-
hand.
I don't think I think if I watched the third one, I definitely, because the chick that was in there, I don't remember what her name is. She's hilarious. She went on to star in a movie called Smiley Face, where she just gets baked out of her mind, and she eats too many pop brownies and a hallucinogen, and she talks to the sun, and she makes her
Mm.
way through Los Angeles, and she gets on a Ferris wheel, and Anna Faris, that's her name. Great movie. But yeah, she had
Gotcha.
a couple good movies there. But now I know Liam Neeson. Well, I know he was Ra's al Ghul in Batman Begins.
That's what I
There we
thought.
go.
The
Yeah,
fat
that's what
Batman.
I'm
You
saying.
said Fat
So-
Batman?
He was fat in that movie, bro.
Christian Bale?
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to go back and rewatch that one, man. Because the only time I've
It
ever
was
seen
right
Christian Bale
after he
fat
did the movie. It was right after
was
he
it
did
Dick?
that movie,
Vice, not
Machinist.
Dick.
The Machinist, and so he went from, I think he weighed 217 in The Machinist, which he's the same height as I am.
No. No, he weighed way
Oh
less.
wait,
He
I'm
weighed like
sorry, 130.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was. That wasn't his crackhead. Was that his crackhead movie? I know he did a couple
Mhm.
crackhead movies.
yeah.
But yeah,
That's the
Well,
one
if
he
you're
did.
comparing anybody to crackhead size, they're going to be fat, John.
They
That's
said
just the
that
way it
he
works.
So like he went from that movie to Batman
Batman.
Begins, and in order to put the weight back on, he had to drink a bunch of like melted down
Like,
milkshakes.
Yeah, bulked up. He had a bulk. Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay with that. I'm not okay calling him fat. But is he bigger than a crackhead? Yes, I'll give you that, John.
Okay.
Ty, what do you
so,
think? I know you're an incredibly polite person. If you don't want to say fat, that's fine. Let's see plus size.
No, it's all good. No, he's fat as fuck. I seen all these movies. I don't really
Okay.
remember, to be honest with you.
Okay,
man.
so anyways, so we had competing wolfmen, is what you're saying, and the boy said they're like everyone was dead, and was one of the wolfmen fat? Just out of curiosity, John.
Yeah.
Well, they weren't
it had to
eating
have
him.
been, you know.
They were sport killing.
I guess
I'll-
maybe you have you got one that does the dirty work and the other one that just shows up to eat, you know what I'm saying? So
It's the bullshit son who
So
doesn't
this
do the work.
this story is based off of nothing more than just a young boy who's hanging underneath the motorhome. Is that correct?
that's like I guess that's
Yeah,
That's where we're
I've
at,
not
man.
reveal.
Now I will say if Liam Neeson's there, I could outrun Liam Neeson. I could. So if he's there, if he doesn't kill them, we're running together. I'm tripping that son of a bitch. He can take his
man.
skills all the way to the mouth, like whatever eating us.
You could definitely outrun Harrelson Ford.
No, for sure. I can't outrun Harrison Ford's bodyguards.
that's all that really matters at the end of the day with these attacks, as long as you can run faster than the other person. Like I want to sit there and think that I would try to be a hero if I was like camping out in the woods with family and stuff, but when it comes down to it, I really don't know. I might just be like, see ya, and I'm just bolting as fast as I can. I've never been in one of those
I
scenarios.
feel like at that point in time, everybody has signed a waiver, if you will, that you're on your own. When the giant wolf creature shows up, you know, if you don't run for your life, then that's on you.
Here's a question for everybody: how fast does everybody think they can run? Like realistically speaking,
I'm gonna get eaten.
like how fast can you run? Like, can you run the 100-yard dash like quickly, or you're gonna get fucking eaten, asshole first?
Oh, that's right. That's how they do it too. Yeah.
Well, no, that So seriously, like, let's not lie to one another. Like, are we athletic? Can we run? Can we actually run or not?
I have been actively working on running for the last year.
Good for you.
Richard has.
I'm averaging about 6 miles an hour.
Hmm.
But
Believe it or not,
in
like
a short distance, I could probably go a lot faster. But John's like 7 foot fucking tall, all legs. He can cover some ground. I'm sure you can, John.
yeah, I'm either gonna stand and fight like George Zimmerman, or I'm gonna get the hell out of there as best I can.
I mean, like I could run, but realistically, I know I'm not going to be any match for a wolf man. So I'm just going to try to punch it in the jaw a couple times, get a couple hits in.
I
I'm
don't
not
know,
fighting.
man.
I'm not fighting a Wolfman fair. I'm kicking him straight in the dick, dude. 100%. You're not going
Nice.
anywhere near that thing's mouth, man. I've been bit by a dog before. Fuck that.
Do they? I mean, like, how are these creatures just like interdimensional? Like, do they have families too? Like, or do they breed with the wolves or something like that and create like a hybrid?
I read somewhere that there was an Indian chief that when he was run out of his lands and all the things that he had dealt with the early settlers, that he had placed a curse to turn himself into an animal to get his
Gotcha.
revenge. Yeah. That was one thing that I had seen.
No, that is one thing that is common with all of this lore because we've been doing a trilogy about the Tennessee, Kentucky area. It all was built over top of Indian burial grounds because that's John and me are from that area originally. That's what made us want to talk about it. And I know one town in the LBL area is actually called Indian Mound because there's a bunch of burial grounds, and they just built a town right over. They built schools and everything. My mom lived out there, and she would say they had like ghostly encounters that they also live near a cemetery too. But I guess I would believe. Well, at this point, I don't know what to believe when it comes to wolf creatures and whatnot. And like the point he brought up earlier, we're going off of what he said, the little boy. I know that there wasn't a lot of evidence otherwise for what happened there that day.
What he had said about that was he had returned home to his family, and he just knew that after that weekend that it was going to be all over the news. And that,
Wait, what family? He didn't return home to the family. They all died, I thought.
That wasn't
No.
his family.
No, that wasn't his family. Those were the gypsies.
Yes.
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
Which I mean, I'm sure they're not to stereotype too much, but I mean, depending on how they were living, like they could have been cursed. Curses are real.
Well, most gypsies, it's either apparently cryptids or like they get attacked by trains. It's one or the other, I guess.
The occasional hunchback.
So,
like talking about,
wasn't there another story?
There's a couple. Can I jump in real quick? So
yeah,
when we're talking about like werewolves, so this is something I learned earlier. So the first at least I think I want to say the first known werewolf story is it's an old ancient Greek mythology.
Yeah,
there was a king. He somehow ended up in a situation where he killed his son and tried to feed him to Zeus, tried to pull a Cartman on him.
Nice.
And the Zeus, being in all his wisdom, turned the dude into a wolf. And that's his name was like I don't remember his name's Leviathan or something like that, but that's like one of the origins for
Leviathan.
Yeah, I don't know, it was something close enough to that where it's like, okay, well now they're called lichens. So there you go.
Ah, okay.
So that that out of all the weird origin stories that I've heard for some of these things, like even like the dogmen that we talked about in past episodes, having a trickster god just transform somebody into a wolf because they're assholes is the most believable.
Yeah.
Actually, I've got a pretty good explanation for what happened. So, like I said, when he returned home, he knew it was going to be all over the news, but to his surprise, there was no mention of it at all. And he was like, well, I guess maybe it's a cover up. They're covering it up.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons that I believe that it could have been a cover up is because actually during this time in the 80s, the Land Between the Lakes, which is a giant reserve for wildlife
A
and
wildlife refuge.
in national forests. Yeah. And so during that time, the Land Between the Lakes released a lot of non-native animals into the area, and one of these animals was the American red wolf.
Yep.
And there
Black
was
Panthers.
what the problem was is in where the red wolves were actually from. The coyotes, because a coyote is more of a pack animal and they hunt more in packs, they had ran amok in where the red wolves' native land is and started reproducing. And a lot of the game that the wolves were competing over, there wasn't as much food, and it was just, there was a lot of hardships. And of course, the wolves, they got a completely different mentality when it comes to hunting. So they had brought the species out there to the Land Between the Lakes because they knew that it would thrive a little bit better, and it was a place that it would be protective and they could watch over it.
Yep.
Needless to say, anytime that you bring an animal that isn't from that area to a new place, there's going to be encounters. And I think that could have been it, is they were just trying to cover up the fact that maybe
their plan wasn't working. Like it,
right.
I got you. Because they brought other types of, like I mentioned a minute ago, they brought Black Panthers to that area, and that was a big rumor for a long time until they finally came out like, yeah, we did do it. We did bring panthers to this area. Or is it panthers, or is it like a mutation, John?
Fun fact about that is there are certain breeds of large cat, like mountain lions, cougars, and other things, that has a mutation that will cause their fur to be black. But there is actually no panther that is found in North America.
I gotcha. But it is a wildlife refuge, and for them to bring these big, like, near extinct animals to that area and not think that they wouldn't just hop the fences and start traveling abound. I'm surprised we never had any like that in our backyards. Like, we had to deal with coyotes and bobcats and stuff. No wolfmen, though.
Cougars are a very real thing. And I know that we talked about it in like the Beast of Bladenboro.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There are people who, like, they have pictures there. You can say, like, there are plenty of sources that say that there are no cougars in this area, but then there's also plenty of people who have seen them. There are pictures of them out there. And then there's the Tennessee connection, where I believe that there was 7 confirmed panthers at one point. Like, you can see it on the Tennessee National, whatever, State Wildlife Commission website.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a real possibility. And when you
Yeah.
talk about hearing loud screaming noises, it's, cougars in particular are said to sound like a woman or a baby crying. And
Yeah.
bobcats are fucking scary as shit. Have you
That's
heard
a
that?
scary sound.
It's
Yeah.
terrifying. I wouldn't go in the woods ever again if I was out there in one particular area and I heard a bobcat screaming. I'm fucking gone, dude. If I don't know what a
Right.
bobcat is, I'm leaving 100%.
And a lot of people, when they think bobcat, they think, maybe just a little bit bigger than a house cat, but no, they're like 3 to 4 feet. You know what I'm saying? They're
Yeah, they get
not.
some size to them.
Exactly. Same with the red wolf. A lot of times that was something that I was going to say, it would be easy to mistake a wolf. The first time someone encounters one in the wild, because a lot of people have only had experience seeing dogs. But
Yeah.
wolves, I mean, if you stand a wolf on its hind legs, it would easily clear 6 foot tall.
Yeah.
Small animals.
And I think they've actually had instances where they've found, like, people have videos of wolves kind of walking bipedally, not for a long distances, but like you said, this all happened in a matter of moments. So if it was kind of like creeping up on just its hind legs, I could see where someone would be like, "That's a wolf man right there."
Now, the man's description for what he saw that day, he said that it was a 6 foot tall creature with a smaller snout than most canines. The ears were lower on the head and more on the sides. And he said that one thing that he remembers is like the hair on the body was like, it looked like somebody wearing a suit. It wasn't like a coat, like a dog's coat normally is. It was just like he said that it looked like a man who was really hairy in a suit, and the legs were really muscular. That was one thing that he's in his description he pointed out, was that the legs were really muscular and it looked like somebody who was really athletic.
Did he spend a lot of time, going into detail about the wolfman's leg muscles?
Absolutely, yeah, exactly. That's exactly.
And how toned they were, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I'm not even lying, dude. No, that was a real thing that happened.
So I'm just wondering here, real quick, John. So you're talking about these animals that may or may not be from this area, but what's interesting to me from what little research I did is the fact that the government dammed off some of these rivers to create the land between the lakes.
Yep.
What do you suppose that had? What kind of impact did that have on the natural resources? Like, did that impact the animals? Maybe,
yes.
or these werewolves? Like, did the fact that man itself intervened with nature and did something, like, did that have any impact on that? Do you think maybe?
Absolutely, and it reminds me of the python problem that Florida experiences. Anytime that you introduce anything into an area where it's not supposed to be, it's going to thrive because it doesn't have any predators. And that's what Florida is going through, because they would get these boa constrictors as pets. And people don't realize that boa constrictors, they live a long time and they get really big. And when they would get too big for people to take care of anymore, they would just go out in the Everglades and dump them off.
Florida sucks for that. We have Florida. There's alligators, crocodiles, and several types of exotic snakes that you just shouldn't see.
Mm-hmm.
They're just running amok.
Now, I know part of LBL near one of the dams, because there's a steam plant down there, and
I was just about to get to that.
There was a barge that hit one of the bridges near the dam, and they sent some divers down there, and they said they were seeing like catfish that were longer than people themselves, like pushing like 7-8 foot in length. So, people don't typically catch them. They're the ones that stay way down at the bottom, and they don't have to eat little, bait from someone's fishing hook. They're eating like a 40-pound fish instead,
But that all could be a result of the fact that man got intervened with Mother Nature and started damming these rivers off to create the LBL.
Exactly.
Yeah. So obviously I'm not from the area, you guys are, but when did that happen? Was there time perhaps for a wolf to maybe morph into one of these creatures? Is it like an evolutionary thing perhaps, or
possibly? Because another thing too,
I'm just trying to be objective. I'm trying to be more objective is what
absolutely.
I'm trying to do.
No, I appreciate that. Another thing is, 1 second, my girlfriend is just like constantly blowing up my. Sorry, she knows I'm recording right now. But anyways, Fort Campbell is right in the area too, and at one point in time, 1/3 of the United States nuclear arsenal was kept in that area too. And my dad actually used to work for the the microbiologist that would test the waters, and he was telling me that at the water treatment plant one time they found green glowing frogs that, like, during the nighttime, like, you could see them glowing green. So and as for TVA, that was done in the 1920s and 30s. So I think it's possible that evolution could have played a part in that for sure.
Evolution takes a long time, and it's over a long species.
Not if you add
Now-
radiation into it.
Yeah, not if you get Spider-Man, right? But yeah,
Yeah.
no,
I mean,
you're
we've
right.
all seen. We've all seen the episode of The Simpsons where that fish come out with 3 eyes.
Yeah.
Actually, the wolves in Chernobyl, they noticed that they were overgrowing in size because there was a Vice documentary where they went wolf hunting in Chernobyl, and they said that they were like pushing beyond the lengths sizes that they were used to. That's what spurred them to want to go hunting there.
So there's a couple of things that I want to bring up. Possible explanations for the early incantations of this story where people were going missing and stuff. So before we really colonized the fuck out of America, before we got all of it, right? Jaguars were a real thing here. Now they were predominantly in. I looked this up just to make sure I wasn't misremembering anything. They were predominantly ranged through Texas and California, but there is speculation that their range did include all the way to the Carolinas in the 1700s. Now, the last female jaguar that they found in the United States was in 1963. It was a female, and it was found in the White Mountains of Arizona. Now, so that's not a jaguar nowadays. I'm comfortable saying it's not that. Cougar, Florida panther, maybe, who knows?
Right.
Yeah.
But I did want to say something about radiation. So there's actually a one of the podcasts I listened to. They started talking about how when we discovered radiation, that the EPA wouldn't do anything with it because it was a naturally occurring mineral. And so people were selling like radiation sprays for like dick pills. They were selling radiation pesticides, radiation cleaners, and like radiation water filters.
Did you the women that used to paint the women that used to paint the watches that like back in the day to make them glow? They like all thought it was kind of cool, so they would paint their whole bodies and go home tonight to like
What was
sleep
that?
with their
Cadmium?
husbands. Was it radium?
Radium. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
They would lick the
But-
paintbrushes so that it would have a nice point on it.
But they would even like paint themselves at night and go home to have like freaky fun time with their husbands, and they all died of like horrific cancers.
Well, we certainly found new ways to make cancer. We have
That must
excelled
be-
at that.
That must be a southern thing. We don't do that here in Canada.
It's a southern tradition.
This
Worldwide, man. This was so they when so and I cannot go into enough detail. I don't even remember the name of the podcast I was listening to be honest with you. But like when we first discovered like X-rays, like the first thing is people didn't do it for like medical purposes. They just started
No.
X-raying rocks and shit just to see what would happen. And then eventually somebody
Yeah.
like I guess they accidentally shot themselves in the foot and they saw a picture. Like, oh shit, this
Yeah.
works. But yeah, no, Canada was victim to the radiation dick pills too, man. I promise you they were. So-
I know
No, that's just
earlier we were
harassing. Just
talking.
harassing.
We were
There's
talking
lots
about
of
the
things.
wildcat theory, and I have encountered a wildcat myself in that area. There was one night, my friends and I, we were walking, and it was in LBL, actually. It was in the LBL. It was closer to Westvaco than it was, though, which is Westvaco is another giant national forest and wildlife refuge. But we had seen, and my friend kept insisting it was a dog. He was like, no, it's just a big black dog. It's just a big black dog. And at one point in time, that dog wrapped his arms around the tree and started, shuffling up the tree. And I was like, there is no fucking way that's a dog.
as
Right
dogs do.
Yes.
Never seen a
Their
dog do
most
that.
natural habitat.
Yeah,
Coconut trees.
dog nests up in the trees.
That was when I first did research into it, and that's when I found out there's a mutation in some cougars that causes their fur to be black instead
Wow.
of you know what I mean? And it's a mutation, and it can happen with any animal. Any animal can be albino, or it can be what's the word that they call it?
I forget. It's not
Is it
the word with it.
melatosis?
Something like that. I always forget it too.
Yeah. You can have
But-
either pigment.
Yep.
Either
Yeah,
no
it's-
pigment or have
It's like melanated or
yeah.
not or something like
something.
that. I can't
Yeah.
remember because it's a melatonin pigment in there.
Yep.
There's even a form of black leopards that's something they also they'll mistake for a panther, but I don't believe that there's actually a specific panther. It's just what you call a cat with this disease or this
Genetic.
pigmentation. Yeah, mutation.
I'm
Gotcha.
going to go on record here and say that if you can tell the difference between a panther or a leopard and a jaguar, you're a nerd. Taking a hard stance on that one. Big scary cat.
I can tell the difference between a leopard and a jaguar. You know how? Because one of them's going to be in the rainforest and the other one's going to be in Africa.
I got one. It's because jaguars eat mescaline and they eat ayahuasca, and you see them whenever you go on your DMT trips and stuff like that.
You know, Aaron
Nerd.
Rodgers might come back to play football this year. He blew us out. So, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Well,
Is he getting
so-
paid for sitting in his house?
Fuck yeah,
Oh,
he
there's-
is.
Oh, yeah,
he's-
absolutely. That's how it works.
Is he getting
Yeah,
paid his
the
entire
Jets-
contract? Probably
Jets-
not.
The Jets didn't take an insurance policy out on him. It's hilarious. So I'm a Packers fan and have been for many years.
Okay.
So for me, this is hilarious to watch Rodgers kind of scuffle a little bit and fuck the Jets, fuck the
Yeah.
Jets, and fuck them one more time. Fuck the Jets.
Yeah,
this is
fuck the
fucking
Jets.
hilarious that he took
Yeah.
4 snaps and fell over, and they got to pay him full tilt.
Yeah.
The Packers to Jets pipeline has not been a good one.
No.
Now the fact that I'm pretty sure I don't want to get too far into football talk, but I'm pretty sure Aaron Rodgers ruined the Jets season by telling everybody he was coming back,
Yeah,
so they couldn't trade for somebody or sign anybody. So they just got stuck with Zach
Right.
Wilson.
and that's the most typical
Ooh.
Aaron Rodgers move there is. Great quarterback.
Oh
He's a bit of a douche.
no, he's a hardcore douchebag, man. That's one thing about him. Like he's an amazing quarterback, but he definitely has like jackass vibes coming from him.
Big time.
Oh.
Yeah, I've been watching him for 15 years or however long it's been. Yeah, he's a big fucking douche. Great
I have a
quarterback, but he's
fun-
a douche.
I have a fun baseball nugget that I learned earlier today. Bobby Bonilla. So Bobby
Bonilla.
Bonilla's famously deferred most of his contract, and every year for the last 25 years, he's been paid like $1.6, $1.7 million.
Yep.
So the Mets, the reason they were able to do that, or the reason they signed that contract, is because they were only paying him 8% interest. And then they had taken that money and invested it in Bernie Madoff's
Yep.
scheme. So they were paying 8, making 15. And then they lost all their money for that contract because they were investing with a crooked jackass. So
They thought that they looked at it like, this is too good to be true. We're making money hand over foot, and it turned out it was too good to be true.
Is that true, Rich? Is that actually
Yeah.
what was going on?
yeah,
Yep.
that's a real thing.
'Cause
Now
that's hilarious because I mean every July 1st it was always kind of a joke that Bobby Bonilla got paid again. Yeah, like
Yep.
$1.6,
No,
$1.7
it's not.
million dollars for
Wasn't a
like
joke.
for a long time because they cut him. I think it was in 99 or 2000.
Yep.
I think
I think
Steve
he played
Phillips-
like 2 years on a 7-year contract. And
Yeah, I
just
think
gets paid
Steve-
for his life.
Steve ESPN analysis. Steve Phillips was the GM that signed with that deal. I seen him quoted that he thought he went on record saying that he didn't think Shohei Ohtani was worth that kind of money, and that when they found out that they were deferring a lot of his payments, he said, "Well,
Yep.
I'm off the hook now for the Bonilla deal."
And that's another
Well,
thing
so-
too, is like Bobby Bonilla Day is going to end in 2035, but Shohei Ohtani Day begins in 2034. So we get to keep on going. Like
The joke continues.
Yep.
And he'll be
It's
so
great.
long retired by then. It's going to be hilarious watching the Dodgers pay out $68 million every year.
Well,
Yeah.
but I'm
Oh,
pretty
wow.
sure the world's going to end before then. So the Dodgers probably got out of like, I don't know,
You
100,
think so?
100 of the 700 million. So
Joke's
Ty,
on you. We're releasing the Wolfmen.
Zeus is real. Zombies are here. We're going to the moon. So Ty, I did want to talk about your show for a little while, man. So you have been interviewing some you've had some fun interviews on your show.
I have, thank you. Yeah, I think
So
I
can
have.
you
Yeah.
just tell me about your show. Like, so why are you making a podcast, man? How did you get there?
So it really started off. I told you before we hit record here that I kind of wanted to. I've been toying with the idea of writing a book. Me and my big fat mouth have been talking about writing an autobiography for a long time now. And last November, I was at my brother's wedding, and one of the groomsmen that was in the party kind of called me out on it a little bit. He's like, "Where's the book? You know, how are we making out with the book?" And I'm like, "I'm not writing the fucking book." And he said, "You know, what are you going to do about it?" And as the bottle got passed around more and more, and I got on a bit of a rant, excuse me, and one of the other guys said, "Well, maybe you should do a podcast." And I said, "Well, that sounds like an excellent idea." I'm a musician. I'll call myself a musician. I got lots of
Me
instruments.
too.
I like to play, and so I've got a recording studio, and I got a room all around me. I've got all kinds of musical instruments and recording studio here. So it was a seamless transition right into it. I got a board here. I just hit record and started throwing it up online, and people are listening. Not too many people are listening. That's why I do stuff like this. You know, check out you guys, and I've been on all kinds of other podcasts, and spread the word. Hopefully people tune in and have a listen, and it's been all kinds of fun. I've been having lots of fun with it, and doing stuff like this. This is all kinds of fun for me as well.
Do you put your music online too?
You know what? I don't, but what I do is the intro to every one of my podcasts is recorded by me.
Nice. I've been thinking about doing that too. I also don't share my music either for I don't know why. I think I'm just lazy.
Well, it might be lazy, it might be self-conscious, could be a little bit of everything. I'm not a vocalist necessarily. I don't have a strong set of singing vocals, so any episode that I record, I'll just do like a 60-90 seconds of intro, and then as I do my my intro to the show, welcome to the Tie That Binds podcast, and you'll hear my music in the background. So that for me forces me to become original and come up with new riffs, come up with new licks, learn something. Even if I'm just going to play a riff from a song on the radio, it forces me to learn it, get good at it. And then it forces me to expand my horizons with the recording software or the recording stuff that I got. And I tweak the dials, and it forces me to do something creative opposed to just watching TV or catching a buzz or, any other thing that's not productive.
Spending 45 minutes on the toilet playing Candy Crush.
Yeah, or just going on Facebook or Reddit or, or just doing something stupid. So it forces it keeps me moving. It keeps me on my toes to stay productive and creative, which is something I've always struggled with.
Okay.
So I do want to ask. So I know you've talked to a few different podcasts. Is there one that you enjoyed the most? I mean, us aside, obviously.
So
how's you preparing for interviews and stuff like that? I mean, look, you care to expand on that at all?
So I don't prepare at all. I'm not gonna lie to you. I've been habitually underpreparing my entire life. I was on a show last week, the Drink O'Clock podcast. Found him on Reddit. That was hilarious. It was just we just sat there just like this, just on the laptop, and we just cranked beers and shot the shit and talked about things I'm not educated in, but it worked and it got a whole bunch of listens. Doing this show, I was on another show called The Psychic Plumage with a guy named Lawrence. He came on my show. That was great. I was on a show called The Big Bro Show, talked about what I do for a living. That was very well received. And it's just been lots of fun. Just to get out there and meet guys like yourselves, just like-minded people, and just have a good time. And it's been lots of fun.
The Reddit podcast community it's been a lot of fun interacting with a lot of those people. We're not very good about going on other shows. I was scheduled to go on a show recently and he canceled, and then I completely forgot about the second recording. I don't know what I was doing. I got a very upset email. I'm like, dude, I'm so sorry. Not bad.
I spaced on that one.
There's three of us. I could have filled in, I could have been just like, I am the Richard. I am here for the show today.
I do stuff and things. Yeah, well, that works great when you know you're supposed to be there.
Yeah.
So now in your interviews right there, now you've talked to a couple of people. Now I know a lot of them have been your friends, but the most recent one you did, I haven't had the chance to listen to it. You talked to a bullfighter.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, I grew up with this guy, and we were never specifically really close, but we went to public school together, and then we went to high school together. And in high school, we kind of broke apart a little bit. I always, seen him in the hallways, never thought much of it. His dad was my shop teacher. His dad actually, Len Rance, is a big part of the reason why I do what I do for a living. And unbeknownst to me, this whole time, he was a bullfighter or bull rider. He was a bull rider, and then he became a professional bull rider. He went to the Calgary Stampede. He fought all over Texas, Madison Square Garden, Alaska. He fought some of the biggest rodeos, or rode bulls in some of the biggest rodeos in North America. And then he transitioned to bullfighting, which is the position while you're in the ring while the person is on the bull. And then when they fall off, you kind of coax the bull out of the way to keep the bull rider safe.
Yeah.
So
we call that rodeo clowning.
So apparently that's a bit of a dirty term. Allegedly.
Yeah.
I learn something new every week, man. I will change my tone.
So that's what I said in the episode. I said, so that's a rodeo clown. Apparently that's a dirty term, but that's exactly what it is you're thinking of. You're thinking of the right person. So that's what he does. But at a professional level, a very high-end level, he tours North America relentlessly. And he also has a huge farm just half an hour up the road from me, where he's got, 500 head of cattle and like 750 acres of corn and a couple cash crops and a wife and 2 kids. And this guy went to high school with, and the whole time I had no idea. I had no fucking clue this is what he was doing. And he did 2 tours in Afghanistan for the Canadian military. Wow. All unbeknownst to me. I just thought he was just doing his own thing. Unbeknownst to me, he was a bull rider at the highest level, a bullfighter at a high level, a full-time farmer, and he doesn't speak about it a lot, but yeah, he was.
He lived 2 different lives, man. That's crazy.
And
now, I will say I know that there has been a growing movement to make men again. And there's been a lot of things that have been suggested, but I don't think I've ever heard one of those like real hardcore red pill guys suggested going and bullfighting.
Especially the ones the ones that like you ever seen the ones where they have like the poker table set up and they're just playing a game of 5-card stud while the bull is just raging at them?
Oh gosh, yes. That's
Dude.
those people don't get paid enough money for that. I can
feel
promise
like
you
it's
they
the
don't.
next logical step for somebody in the roller derby or someone who plays dodgeball professionally.
So are you
That's-
suggesting that they're playing cards while these bulls are rolling around?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
that's
a
what they
thing.
do. Yeah, they do that down here.
God,
Obviously,
I'm missing out on so much living up here. Am I? I must. Be.
that is a much lower level than what your friend is at. These are like I would assume the danger level is probably a little bit higher, but that's like it's probably the most dangerous game of musical chairs you can play.
They'll
should guess
they'll
so.
usually they'll rope those together like the rodeos like that with demolition derbies where everybody just gets their cars together and crash into each other. And then they'll usually like have a rocket car tractor pull or something like that. They take a car and build it into like put a rocket engine in it and just see how fast they can drive it. Yeah, I got some weird stuff down here in the South.
Well,
Do y'all
I'll
do
tell
that?
you, demolition derbies are big up here in the summertime.
You got them? Gotcha.
Oh yeah, big time. And truck pulls. You know who's got the most horsepower. Pull that.
Oh,
speed
yeah.
up. That's huge. That's big around here. Big around here too.
And then we deep fry everything. Everything you could imagine gets deep fried.
I love it.
Yeah, the fairs can give you a cardiac arrest. That's yeah, I'm pretty sure you have to sign a waiver. You should have to sign a waiver anyway to go to a fair down here anyway. Like we had there was deep fried pizza, I believe last time I went to the fair.
Well, it's
And
called the
every year it's-
Panzerotti.
Yeah.
Panzerotti.
Oh well, that's what I would call it. A medium.
That's a
pizza.
great name.
Well,
Yeah, it
well,
is.
yeah, that's what we call them here. Medium pizza, folded in half, crimped around the edges, and deep fried. Panzerotti.
I'm pretty sure you're from the North Carolina of Canada, buddy.
Yeah, we call it
Nice.
Ontario, and that's where I am.
I know at least once a year I start getting a craving for a funnel cake, and I don't know if you guys ever try to make a funnel cake on your own. There's no replicating that. That's one thing you get at the fair only.
Yeah, it only
Yeah.
comes from a trailer.
Yeah.
It's got
Carnies.
to. You know, I saw the packages to buy those recently, and I'm glad I decided not to do that because that looked like that was a real impulse shopping thing. I'm like, I'm impulse shopping. Don't do that. And I put it back, and I moved on with my life. And now I'm glad to know that mystery's been solved. Put to bed for me.
I had a friend that had a cotton candy maker. We used it one time and we never bought the refills for it, and that was it.
Yeah, I would just eat the sugar probably, like
Just doing
straight up
lines
just eat
of-
it.
It probably
Just
wasn't
doing
Yeah.
worth
lines of blue cotton
probably-
candy.
probably wasn't worth cleaning up the mess, was it, John?
No,
Like
no.
once you made the mess, like,
Yeah,
is it really just throw it in the garbage.
it's good exactly once.
Yeah, it's good exactly once.
The best thing about $2 cotton candy is you don't have to pay to clean it up. That's probably
Exactly.
the best thing. So-
That's why it's
Oh.
$2 cotton candy.
all right. Well, hey Ty, you got any more pluggables you want to drop real quick?
Nothing more than just check out the Tie That Binds podcast on all
I'm
the
gonna check it
all-
out.
all the majors,
Absolutely.
Amazon, Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, Google. I don't know if Google's still doing podcasts or not.
It'll be gone pretty soon.
Yeah, I don't do video or anything. It's all just audio. But yeah, check out the Tie That Binds podcast. I got some cool past guests, and I'm lining up some real cool ones. I got an episode tomorrow. I'm really excited about a guy coming in. You know what's interesting? Before you guys let me loose, as I'm doing more of these remote with mostly Americans. People find it hilarious that I invite people to my home and people just show up. They do. I was on the Drink O'Clock podcast last week, and buddies from Philadelphia, and I told them, I'm like, yeah, I like that guy Buzz Collins, the radio host. I just got a hold of him online, and I was like, dude, you want to come to my house and shoot the shit? He's like, fuck yeah, I'll be there next Saturday. Just showed up.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like
That
I
is
don't,
really
Yeah.
cool.
I don't know him from Adam. You know, I don't know him from anybody. He just showed up, took my
What's
word.
the cultural difference between you guys up north?
I suppose so, John.
standoffish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
A couple people have been friends, like Zach, Smitty, and my buddy Claude. But there's been another guy, Sean Scally, filmmaker locally. He just showed up, didn't know me. I got a local politician and brewer coming tomorrow. He doesn't necessarily know me. He's just gonna come over.
Nobody.
No big deal.
Right.
And all these people I tell, they just find it hilarious that just people just show up to my house.
Well, see, there's obviously there's different people, right? So there's extroverts,
guess.
there's introverts, right? So I know for the most part we're a little bit more standoffish in here in the States, but I know that I have gone out of my way to try to meet people. I've forced myself to go talk to people because I deal with insane anxiety with that shit, so I have to make myself do it.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I usually hear is like when people are like, well, hey, we should get the kids together, let's go on this date. A lot of people aren't that forward, and so I could definitely see that being enigmatic. Is that the word?
Yeah.
Yes.
I
Sounds
could read
good.
words sometimes.
Sounds
So,
good.
It sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
all right,
I mean,
boys.
we're all three friends, and it's the hardest thing in the world to try to just get us all three in the same room together sometimes.
Well, yeah, I was actually telling him it was like 5 years where we didn't actually see each other.
Right?
But, I mean, it's just such a long time. I lived 3 hours away, and then John lived 4 hours away. But John was only an hour away from me, and then Dan was an hour that way. It's a whole thing. So, but anyways, y'all,
Thank you.
thanks for the show.
Thank you so much.